Hey, what's up, boys? It's Feeds again, back with another video. This time it's gonna be over Prince Kymar. I always call him Prince Neymar because I always think of the football player, the soccer player, Prince Neymar, Neymar Jr. But Prince Kymar, this guy is the epitome of awesome. When it comes to it, he has a lot of functionality in a lot of different areas, and there's a lot of different builds you can do with him to make him good. The builds I went with was a little kind of out of the blue, and I focused more on the stats more than necessarily the stat items. Just due to the stat itemization that I got on the items that I did have for him, ended up working to be pretty well. So, without further ado, we'll jump in real quick. So, just kind of touch on his skills before we talk about his stat attributes. So the reason why Prince Kymar is so good is because you can use him in a course and arena with his speed aura, which gives you 30% increase to speed. He also, his A1 ability is attacks everyone, so attacks all enemies, places a 5% poison debuff if the attack is a critical, and damage is based on attack. His A2 attacks all enemies, removes all buffs, places a sleep debuff for 1 turn. That damage is also based on attack. And then of course his Seal of Magic resets the cooldowns of all skills, fills the turn meter of all allies except the champion by 20%. And you can reduce that cooldown to 6 turns instead of 7. Now, when you look at it all together, you could, like I said, the reason why I said you could build him so many different ways is because you could go pure damage with him and have a lot of functionality that goes into it. And when you build pure damage Kymar, it's actually pretty scary how much damage he can do. There's also some limitations that kind of fall into that. So I built him to be a little bit more of a support player for higher level dungeons and of course arena. So you're gonna see how he's statted a little bit right now. Obviously, I'm still missing 1 ascension on him, but currently he's got 40,000 HP, 1,700 attack, 2,700 defense, 141 speed, 84% crit rate, and then 113% crit damage, 60% resistance, and 66% debuff accuracy. The important thing to note here is the defense and the HP. What this allows me to do in a lot of situations is to be really tanky. And the reason why the tankiness is important for me is because of how quickly he can move. It's more about setting up the ability to put down the poisons. So 84% crit obviously isn't 100, but it's close enough to when I run with like my Bedell or a different hero. I can still take advantage of the crit that comes with it when it goes into. Now the reason why he's so good in a lot of different comps is you can build him in a lot of different ways. The one that I just like to build him with is to run with the counterattack team. So I pair him with my Valkyrie and my Skull Crusher, depending upon what the team comp is. And then I make sure that I get all my cooldowns off before I get to him. So he's fast, but not fast enough to outpace the rest of my team. I go through full turn rotations. So in instance in arena, I would do Badak Malice. I would do Valkyrie's A2. And then of course I would do my Gorgrab's A2. And then I would use his ability to reset it. So that also fills a turn meter too. And then on turn 2, I'd go through Malice again. Then wait for Valkyrie to use her A2 on my third round, and then of course Gorgrab would go through and fill turn meters again with his A2. So it's a pretty shicey way of making sure things work. In addition to, as a counterattack team, especially in arena, it gives me a lot of function to hit everyone, which means I can basically route the other team down. Now the only time that this build doesn't necessarily work is if you're playing against another sustained team, and then it's just a question of who crits more at the end, because that's what it's eventually going to boil down to. I've taken him into Dragon 20, and I've taken him into several other higher dungeons, and he's worked excellent. He's a great filler. Like I said, if I went with the full potential itemization that I really want, would mean I'd have to get the items first. But I could potentially run him Cruel and Savage with crit rating, and then just have a little extra speed on there for the sake of it. And then you could effectively just A1 down something to death pretty quickly, and you would still apply poisons by rotting them. And then, of course, more than anything else, you'd be doing a ton of damage to a lot of different people. So there's a lot of functionality to it. I've seen a lot of different builds work for him. I think the itemization that I have currently works really well as far as surviving and being able to minimize the amount of chunk that happens to you. Obviously, it's not going to be the best for the amount of damage output, but it gives you the best opportunity for survivability. And since we want to make sure that Kymar can go through his A3 as often as possible, especially on situations like Clan Boss and things like that, you want to make him a little bit tankier when it comes to it. Ultimately, on his Masteries, what I would probably do if I were to take this guy all the way to his top tier Masteries, I'd probably end up running with War Master, or yeah, War Master, just for the sake of doing the extra damage when it comes to it. I think Kymar is a potential damage dealer, and I think you should build him accordingly. The other alternative is if you don't do it that way, you can build him full cooldown reduction, and then of course what you can do, if you decide to run poison, you could run with Oppressor, or run with Timely Intervention, increase the champion's turn rate by 20% when an ally hero drops below 25%. Those are two viable options, and if you just wanted to make him pure tank with the extra defense that I'm running per se, you can do the max 3000 HP. So there's not really a bad way you can build Kymar. Ultimately, it just boils down to personal preference. Me personally, I'm doing offense, so as you can see, I went with crit rate, crit damage. And his tier 3s, what I'll end up going with is probably Life Drinker, just for the little extra health there. And then of course, what I would do in my tier 4 would be Cycle of Violence, and potentially bring it down. Just because you'll run into a lot of heroes, a lot of creatures with higher HP than that. And then of course what you can end up doing is Methodical if you absolutely wanted to, because this increases your damage of your A1, which means you could effectively increase your damage on every target you hit for 10%, which is really good if you happen to get up that high in arenas. If you happen to get up that high up in, say, higher level dungeons, Methodical is a really good way to go. And of course it's an entryway right into War Master when it goes into it. So those would be my picks for Masteries. Obviously, Kymar, I recently got Kymar, so my objective is to get him kind of geared out all the way and see what I can do for him. But that'll be it for this video, guys. That just kind of touches on Kymar and kind of his power potential. I'd love to hear you guys' comments, concerns on what you think you can do differently with him, or if you have him, what builds you've done and have worked. Always open to hear what we can make happen and what different options to go to it. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them below in the comments. If you like the video, go ahead and hit like. If you liked enough to follow, go ahead and hit subscribe, and just pay attention for the next time my video gets released. So appreciate it again, guys. Appreciate all the support I've gotten recently, and you guys have a great one, and you keep summoning.
Run! It's gonna be a left click. It's gonna be a left click. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!